Hello everybody, Dave here for Dave Gets Wood, and it's been 3 days, I think it is. Yeah, it's been about 3 days since I poured the resin in the lettering for the second time, and I have checked on it a couple of times, but only sort of quick glimpses. Like, I think I checked after about 12 hours to see if I could see through the resin, and then I checked about another 12 hours later, and then checked, sort of had another look yesterday. So I've not really sat down and analysed it, but that's what I'm going to do now. I have a potential plan for today. It depends on what we see. If what we see is okay, I'm going to sneeze and try not to. Yeah, if what we see is okay, then the plan will be to sand down the face, and then I need to make a decision on whether I'm going to put a couple of holes in it, but I think I'll leave that for now. Yeah, so sand down the face, clean up the face, and then create a perspex border, which I'm probably going to have to screw on. I mean, I might be able to glue it on, but I think I'd be happier screwing it on. The only thing that then is that it means I've got holes. I've only got my 2 big clamps and 1 small G clamp, which might be enough actually. But anyway, let's take a look at what we've got to work with. So let's do a little bit of okay, I can tell you it is so close to being see-through, but it isn't see-through. And I will show it to the camera in a moment. I'll show it now. Now, something to remember with this as well is that I mean, I think if you remember when I showed it in the light, you were able to actually see the wood in the background. I can't remember if you could or not, but so hopefully you can see there that you can't actually see the wood underneath now. But let's not forget as well that this pour, make sure that it has gone solid, this pour was much thinner than the previous pour. So I have left a much bigger recess than the first pour, and the reason I did that was because if this was see-through, then the extra couple of mil probably wouldn't have made a difference, or the extra 1 mil. I mean, because we are talking millimetres. Yeah, so that extra bit wouldn't have potentially taken it into not see-through anymore. But by having that little bit of recess, if it was a tiny little bit see-through, then I may have been able to add another layer. Now, what I will say is, even though I did try and clean up a lot of the resin that was on the top, if you should be able to see, like in here, it's very messy. Around the edges of the lettering, it is a bit messy. So that does need sanding down, but we knew that would anyway. Okay, so on looking at this then, I would say I can crack on with sanding that down now, and I will get on to explaining exactly what we'll do there in a second. One of the other things that we did as well was with the excess resin, poured a load of coasters. I'm not going to take them out of their moulds yet, because I'm going to be making a bit of mess in here, and that mess isn't going to get into the moulds. I'd much rather get this done, and at some point I will come on to these coasters and really try and sort them out, because I mean these have come up with some quite interesting patterning on it. And I don't know, it almost looks like blue brains, but yeah, but they've set quite nicely, and their colour all the way through. So I've also still got this grey one, the Devil's Anus, I think I'll call that, the Devil's Arthong. Yeah, that one's still waiting for a clear pour to go on top, as is this one. So these two are they're waiting together, and when I do the pour on top of the face, I may be able to add those in. There is another 2 square blue ones, which these are the ones that I had to move, so their quality on them is not as good. You can see how ripply the reflection is, but at the same time, the reflection, you can see different colours from outside, which goes to show that even though it's a poor finish, it's still a very reflective finish. So you can imagine what it'd been like had I not moved them. I mean, hopefully the underneath will still be good, but anyway, we'll see. But obviously, I mean, for most of these were a bit of a sort of a panic pour. It's kind of like, shit, I've got loads of resin left, what the fuck am I going to do? So yeah, but all of these need putting to one side, as I said. So I'm going to put them to one side. Right, well, now that they're out of the way, we can get on to discussing the main piece we're working on here. And quite simply, what I'm going to do is, with my wet dry sanding sheets, I will start sanding this down. Now, my intention is to not take loads off this. It's literally to just clean up the surface. Also, my intention is to not really touch the blue. There's not a lot I can do about that at the moment. If I do happen to affect the blue, then I'm going to have to sort that out. So I'm half tempted to try and hand sand this, but at the same time, for some reason, I'm very warm today and I'm very tired, and I don't know if I could do it justice, hand sanding it. Now, there may be some of the black bits that I may have to hand sand them, because that does need cleaning up really, mainly because unfortunately some of the blue resin in the cleaning, like the removal process, unfortunately some of the blue resin has gone to the black and just sort of taken it dull, so it needs a little bit of a clean up. But considering that it's not finished and that's how it's looking at the moment, I'm fairly pleased and fairly optimistic with how it could look. Now, what I intend to do, as I mentioned, is create a Perspex border on this, because I do want to do a full pour of clear resin on the front. There's a couple of reasons for that. One is so that it gets into all of the recesses on the front. So it should fill up all of the letters, and it should give me a level all the way across. Right? Now, if I was to try and paint on some of the clear resin. We've tried that before, it's not really worked as well. It might be different with this new type of resin because it's definitely more liquidy, but this is the one to really try the big pour on. It also comes with a risk, because if it goes wrong, we could be in trouble. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to cut up the perspex to create 2 sides and 2 ends. Now with my big clamps, or one of my big clamps, I should be able to clamp on the ends, but with the sides, even if I clamp that, it wouldn't be clamped all the way along, which is why I was considering screwing it on. If I was to glue it on, I would then have to break that glue, as well as potentially peel where the resin is going to connect with the perspex, because that's another thing that's going to happen. The resin and the perspex are going to come together, and they are going to have to be effectively split apart, because I haven't got any releasing agents. I didn't think about it. So if I was to have to break glue and the resin connection, pain in the arse, but if I can just unscrew it, then yeah. Now the wood itself, as you can see, even the front face is not completely flat, which is another reason why I want to do a full pour, because that should give me a completely level front. But as we also know, the underside is not flat, so it's not like I can just lie it down and yeah, put it on the table and it will be flat. That won't quite work. So what I'm thinking I might actually have to do is with the perspex, have the perspex overlapping underneath, so that what I can do is when I can attach the sides and have it raised up slightly, and then get it level with the sides, with the end side. So use the perspex to get it level rather than rely on the wood itself to be level. It also means that I don't have to sort of wedge it or have any issues with it moving. Once the perspex connected, that should create its level. I mean, I may even find it easier to sort of put the perspex up to this and kind of clamp it, and then use a little bit of glue just to sort of put the perspex together in the shape to get that flat base. But we'll come to that. We'll get to that when we come to it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start sanding this. I'm going to go with the orbital sander with a wet dry sanding, starting on 320 grit. And like I say, I'm going to take it down a bit, but the idea is to not take it down loads. But what we'll do is we can sort of pop fast forward on, listen to some music while you watch me move around rather quicker than I ever have done before. Okay, a bit of an update for you. Sanded the wood down, so the wood is now nice and smooth, looking a lot cleaner. I'm not going to try taking it back any further because I don't want to. Yeah, there's a few places where it's getting close to getting onto the blue resin, and I don't want to do that. I'm going to need to leave this for a bit to dry. Yeah, I'm going to take a break for a little while, and then I shall start doing something with the Perspex. I'm going to have to really, I know that I was going to have to be doing this at some point, but I am going to have to really think about how I am exactly how I am going to go about doing this, because if I get it wrong, all the resin could just pour out. If I get it wrong, all the resin could sort of pour to one side. So yeah, so I do need to try and make sure that I have it planned out in my mind of exactly how I'm going to do it. Right, I'll be back shortly.